We'll get into the Giants, that horrific loss to the Dallas Cowboys at home wearing those stupid color rush jerseys that we never win in. So I'll recap that and I'll give my thoughts on the upcoming game against the Bears at home in some throwback uniforms that I think we might actually have some success in, and that it's mind-boggling that we have not worn those uniforms more often or at all. NFL, you weird NFL. Let's talk about the New York Football Giants, okay? Hey, I was looking forward to us being the worst 3-0 football team on the face of the planet in the history of the NFL. I was looking forward to a run that is reminiscent of the 2011 run, where it's just like we're just figuring out how to pull out wins out of a hat, out of our backside, and people underestimated us, and we're able to fly under the radar, and we're able to upset and surprise people and shock people, and we're just able to find ways to get the dub. But part of me still, and you can listen back to the last week's episode, it was like, we suck against backup quarterbacks. I don't know what it is, but we cannot figure out backup quarterbacks. And who knows? Maybe Cooper Rush is the second coming of Jesus. I don't friggin' know. I mean, he's certainly shown enough in the wins over Cincinnati and against us to make you think that, okay, well, he's now won 2 games as a starter. And is there a quarterback controversy in Dallas, which is hilarious? So I think the positive you got to take out of this debacle that was Monday night, and everyone now doom and gloom, is like at least Dallas has now got an extra wrinkle, and they might see it as champagne problems, good problems to have, but like they did, monster contract for Dak, and maybe it is a Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady situation where they're able to deal Cooper Rush for a fair amount and get a big returns out of it. But I just hate that we suck against backup quarterbacks. We just and a record of Monday Night Football. I tweeted this out. I saw El Jefe put out a video about mentioning this. I think I mentioned this last episode where the last time the Giants beat the Cowboys on Monday Night Football was in the 70s, which was exaggerated for comedic effect. But I ended up doing some digging and seeing no, we actually do really stink against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. I mean, we stink on Monday Night Football regardless. I think we have one of the worst records on Monday Night Football. So if we don't ever play another game on Monday Night Football for as long as I live, I'll die a happy man. I really will. I have because the spotlight, when you watch a Monday Night Football game or even like a Sunday Night Football game, you're the only game in town. And so everyone's paying attention to it. And you have these fans that have paid zero attention to you over the past 2 weeks. Like maybe they've heard things but they're not really familiar with the situation, what's going on as intimately and intricately as us Giants fans are. And so then they come in and they just throw all these like uneducated comments into the timeline. And it's just like, okay, yeah, sure. It's just like a super boring game. And I can't imagine if you weren't a Giants fan or a Cowboys fan trying to watch that game, because you might have been like, oh, another punt. But like I was living and dying with every freaking snap that was happening in that game. Even when it was like 3-0, 3-3, 6-3, like that, I know a lot of people were saying like that was a boring first half. I was very engaged. Every play felt like life or death. And, who knows if Gano doesn't get his first kick blocked, we're tied at half, we're 6-6. If the refs decided to let them play in the first half, and then all of a sudden Sterling Shepard like collides with Diggs on the crossing route and gets called for OPI on Kenny Galladay's one and only big catch that would have set them up in field goal position. Another 4th and 2 where, people are blaming Golladay on that slant on 4th and 2. That's a tough catch. Like Jones did not do him any favors. And I know that Galladay has a history as a reputation for being Mr. Contested Catch, but like that wasn't a contested catch. That wasn't even in his radius, I don't think. Maybe I'll have to watch it again, but the angle that I've watched time and time again on loop, it's like that ball is really far behind Golladay. And I don't know that many people would come up with that perception, but it's another opportunity wasted and blown. At one point they had the Cowboys at 3rd and 12, and this defense, like last year's defense, the year before that, it's not that surprising that they give up 3rd and 12, but for this defense to give up 3rd and 12, that was to me, that was a sign that, okay, this defense is not where we're accustomed to them being, against Carolina and against Tennessee, stepping up and getting off the field on 3rd down. And I don't think it came back to bite them, because I think the kicker Mayer missed that 59-yarder at the end of the half. But like, and this is the state of affairs. Like, let's just sum it up. Here's how we sum up the state of affairs of the Giants. The majority of Giants fans that have half a brain are like, that was Daniel Jones' best game as a Giant. He threw 0 touchdowns and got picked off. Now, granted, the interception wasn't really his fault because David Sills just decided to just collapse. I think I don't know. He was like an octogenarian getting out of the shower, just slipped and broke his hip. Like, what the hell happened on that? I don't understand how it wasn't even a hard cut. And he just fell over. It's like his controller got disconnected in Madden. Just like, that's what it was. And you got to think like, well, what if you had Golladay run that route, or Slayton, or anyone who's been playing actual regular season games for the past couple of years, now in the practice squad, not preseason. So as much as, and I know David Sills has the David Sills army that I think is ironic, but maybe not, that people want to see him play. You can't, I mean, and okay, maybe this is growing pains and maybe he gets better from it and maybe he balls out next week. I don't know. But I tweeted this. The wide receiver room is in shambles. Our linebackers are so bad and our offensive line is atrocious. But, this was the big concern coming into this game. I said that the Cowboys, their defense is legit. That's a top 5 defense, I think. I mean, people point to that Buccaneers game, but like their offense was doing the Cowboys 0 favors. And, eventually you lose Dak and you get Cooper Rush in there, and he's able to pull them out of it. But like, they only allowed 19 points to the Bucs. They didn't allow a lot of points to the Bengals, and they gave up 16 to us and could have been 19. So it's not like, okay, they're not the 2000 Ravens defense, but to allow 20 or less points in your first 3 consecutive games, I mean, that's not nothing to sneeze at. And it was disappointing that, we get Thibodeau and Ojulari back, and as far as the eye test goes, and I haven't reviewed the all 22 or any of that, I don't get in depth, but it seems like they did okay. Like, Ojulari was able to force a few penalties, didn't get a sack though. Thibodeau, I watched a compilation of his pass rushes, and what I saw was a guy that was timid, hesitant, and reluctant, and taking just bad paths and routes. I mean, there were a few plays where like he's just unblocked, like free path to the quarterback, and he's still circling as if there's someone in his way, and it's like, dude, just go for it. You got a clear shot. Let's go for it, my man. So I know he did get a tip pass, and I guess it wasn't all bad in terms of it is his first game. He does still have coming off that sprained MCL, so you got to give him more time. I think people were very quick and harsh, but I mean, like, you saw the hype leading up to that game, all these graphics and pictures and videos and tweets about like, we're getting these 2 back, and it's gonna be hell to pay for Cooper Rush. And it's like, yeah, it's still their first game, and they're coming off injuries. It's just, I think it's kind of different. I think if they can continue to get better from a health standpoint, get back to 100%, and if we get Leonard Williams back, then we're looking at us being a borderline top 5 defense. I'm very confident about that, given Wink's ability to scheme and game plan. But the linebackers are going to be a problem all year. Austin Calitro stinks. Tate Crowder stinks. Micah McFadden, I don't know. I think Calitro got benched, right? But I mean, the interior linebackers are, and this is where, I said, how much did this clubhouse hate Blake Martinez that they restructured his contract and then cut him? And this is how bad his replacements are. Like, why wouldn't you just run with Blake Martinez and then trade him to someone who is maybe the contender that needs an interior linebacker? Why would you give up on him? Like, was he that hated and disliked? Like, maybe he's not great in pass coverage, but he would at least help with the run defense. I think we were allowing something like 7 yards of carry on Monday night. So for anyone's wondering, yes, we're paying Leonard Williams a boatload of money, but like, there's kind of a reason why. He's like really great in run defense and can sort of collapse the pocket and at least put a little bit of pressure on the quarterback. Maybe not exactly a sack master per se, but at least he's, disrupting the flow a little bit. But I mean, there was a defensive lineman I have never heard or seen it before on the field on Monday night. Like, who the hell is that guy? I honestly thought it was a fan who snuck onto the field and like was able to get into uniform. But yeah, well, I mean, could have been worse, could have been better. I mean, if Shep doesn't, it was a fumble, the catch down the right sideline where it was ruled an incomplete pass. That was for sure a fumble. But if he holds on to that, that's a first down. Golladay had another drop. So the wide receivers weren't doing Daniel Jones any favors. The offensive line wasn't doing him any favors. 20 plus pressures. It was like the most pressures in NFL history or something like that. But then you think about the Bengals last year. I mean, Joe Burrow was constantly under pressure and was able to escape and make plays. So, and I think Daniel was able to do that without any major mishaps. And I think that's why people are calling this the best game of his year because of his career, because, he didn't have any time. He managed to improvise and was able to at least reduce the damage and not get tackled for loss, not get sacked, and was able to make some positives out of it. But there was that tweet going around of, what was it, Jeff Saturday saying like Josh Allen was nothing before Stefon Diggs. Tua was nothing before Tyreek Hill. Like Daniel Jones just needs his Stefon Diggs or Tyreek Hill. Like Jalen Hurts, you look at him now, he's like almost a completely different quarterback with AJ Brown. You looked at what was successful with Eli Manning in 07 and 11. In 07, he's got Plaxico and Steve Smith and Amani Toomer, guys that are not only able to separate and get open, but make the tough catches, get the first down, but also were great run blocking, which is rare. And then in 11, you have, Cruz, Nix, and Manningham, the trio, which, wouldn't we die to give anything for anything resembling that? And it's hard to believe that Golladay, Toney, and what would have been Shepard or Wan'Dale Robinson isn't that. And that Slayton, I mean, I cannot believe Darius Slayton, the career trajectory. I've never seen a fall from grace like that. Not to say he was like, cream of the crop, rise to the top, but like the plays that he was giving us in 19 and 20, and then all it took was like one big drop against Washington in 21, and then it was like he's completely deteriorated and decomposed. And now we're at a point where it's like Richie James is our wide receiver one, I guess. The Shep injury is, how many more reasons do you need to absolutely burn MetLife Stadium to the ground? That freaking stadium stinks. The turf is just like, I've never seen anything like that. Lightly jogging down the field, and then it looks like he got shot by a sniper. Unreal, dude. I think his career's over. He torn Achilles and a torn ACL after everything he's been through. I know he's only 28, but like, that's rough. That's rough. So and listen, I think that Sterling Shepard, when healthy and 100%, is one of the top receivers in the league. I really do. Pre Achilles, pre all this. There's, I think if you were to compile a highlight reel, you get some pretty good audience retention on that, because like the stop and start, it's not quite to the level of Kadarius Toney, but just willing to make the tough catches and the tough plays. Very reminiscent of the Giants wide receivers of 1990, I want to say, like Stephen Baker, Mark Ingram, that kind of style of play. I feel like he was cut from that cloth. But yeah, that sucks. I loved him. I was fairly on board with the big contract extension. I thought he deserved it, but that's if you play a full season or even like 3/4 of a season and he couldn't stay on the field. I cannot believe the situation we're in with our wide receivers. And I don't know that there's really a way out of it. I saw something that they wanted to call up Alex Bachman, and Bachman's like, nah, I'm good. Like, whoa, okay, cool. So yeah, they're in trouble. The offense is in big, deep doo-doo. Evan Neal had a horrific game where DeMarcus Lawrence, who hasn't done anything in the past few years, like breaks out and has a few sacks. One of the sacks cost a big play where, Darius Slayton actually did the double move, because that was like the first quarter and the first half. That's all that Peyton Manning was talking about on the Manning cast, was like, would love to see Golladay make a double move. Would love to see Shepard do a double move, because these cornerbacks are pressing hard and coming up and playing super aggressive on the ball. And of course, they do the double move with Slayton, and Jones doesn't even see him because he's getting sacked, courtesy of Evan Neal. So Neal's a rookie, Thibodeau's a rookie, a lot of growing pains, and this is what a rebuild is, right? So we have to keep saying to yourself is that we are in a rebuild, but it's tough when you have games within your reach, but this is like what we've been saying over the past 6 or more years. Like I don't know what made me think of this, but this is like for me, I'm 40, almost 42, been a fan since I would say 85-ish, 86, and I've been watching, I guess like 30 plus years now, 35 plus years. And this feels like the worst stretch of football that I've experienced as a Giants fan. That includes from like 91 to 96. So that's 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96. That was about 6 years. You had the fossil era where it's like we were in the hunt for the playoffs for 2 of the years, didn't make it. We made the playoffs in 2 of the other years, so it was like we missed the playoffs, we get the playoffs, we miss the playoffs, get the playoffs. So it was kind of up and down. And then you had Coughlin, who is like in year 2 is making the playoffs, and then like didn't make the playoffs for maybe 2 or 3 years, and that was that. So I'd say from 2013 to now, we're looking at almost 10 years. It's 9 seasons. We made the playoffs 1 season, which is like, people look back in Pro Football Reference, and I did this with the Giants from 1964 to 1980 because that was the longest stretch of no playoffs. It was 17 seasons that they didn't make the playoffs. But I watched these seasons. 2013, where we got off to an 0-7 start, and then won the rest of our games and finished 7-9, and like had a very outside chance of making the playoffs. 2014, where it's like, no, we didn't really have. I mean, it was basically that Thanksgiving game against Dallas was where we could have possibly turned it around and made a run and didn't. 2015, I mean, you know the story behind that. We could have very easily made the playoffs if we just held on to the lead at the end of the game. Like so many blown leads at the end of the game. I think 4 or 5 blown leads. I think we finished 5-11 or 5-11, I think 6-10. You tack on 4 or 5 wins, we're in the playoffs. 2016, we made the playoffs, but there were a handful of games that we could have easily lost, and we could have gone 5-11. And then 2017 debacle, 2018, again, nothing to write home about, but a strong finish. 2019, in 2020 and 2021. It's just like, so I decided to look back at like that period because I knew the 70s, and what spawned it was the Big Blue VCR post clips, classic clips from old games from his archives that he's recorded over the years to like get us ready for the upcoming game. And he posted like a game from the 77. I have not watched hardly any, like I'll go back and watch classic Giants games from the 80s, the heyday, if you will. I'll try to find games from like before I was really cognizant of what's going on, like 84, 85, and even 81, I decided to take a look at. From 1964 to 1980, the Giants didn't make the playoffs. I think they won the championship in 63, or they were in the NFL championship in 63. Might have lost. But since that, did make the playoffs. From 64 to 80, it's 16 seasons. And I was blown away. I said it in my tweet. I was like, if you were a fan during that time, that entire time, and you watched every game and you rooted for the team, you deserve all the goddamn respect in the world. All of it. Because I don't know if I could do that. And you can call me entitled, spoiled. Okay, yeah, I am. But 60, and there were like maybe of those 16 seasons, I think they, the majority of them were losing seasons. I think they only had 2 winning seasons in 70 and 72, I want to say. And I think maybe Tarkenton was the quarterback. But that's rough. That's about as bad as it gets. And I don't know if I could go through that period. And I hope if life is cyclical and we go through every 30 years, we go through the same thing and it repeats itself, history repeats itself. Like, I don't know if I'm equipped to handle that. This does feel different though. I mean, I will say, this does feel different with Shane and Dable. I don't agree with a lot of the decisions they're making. I don't understand how you don't try to make Golladay work. Like even just try, like how it feels like they just, they wrote him off in like the first week of training camp, which is bonkers to me. But now that Shep is done for the year and that Toney also has these ailments and injuries that just refuse to go away, it's pretty clear that we're probably moving on from Toney. They've already moved on from Golladay, even though he's still on the team. I feel like they don't care if he ever sees the field. I just don't want them to have to rely on Sills. And it's like, if Richie James is the guy, then Richie James is the guy. Wan'Dale Robinson, like when is he getting back? Is he ever getting back soon? And if he is, like he feels like he's just Kadarius Toney 2.0. Like he's just another guy that makes explosive plays but can't stay on the field. What if this is a rebuild year? What do you have to lose? Like someone tweeted out, why are we just not running verts every play to Golladay? As if it's Madden 23. Like, why don't we just do that? We honestly, like deep down, we all have to know and understand that it's gonna take a lot for us to make the playoffs. You're gonna need a mediocre roster to play above and beyond their talent levels. And listen, the coaching staff is doing a fantastic job of scheming and utilizing their talent to the best of their abilities. But at the same time, it's like you can see their limitations and you can see where they're falling short. And you can see, like, even if they were to fulfill their assignment and do their job, they're still going to get their ass kicked. Like, I mean, that the Cowboys game was just like pure evidence of that. Like the trenches, we were just getting dominated. And so, why not cut loose and just be like, fuck it. We're going to play Golladay every snap. We're going to milk him for every single dollar that we've paid him. Slayton, we're not even paying him that much. Why not get the most out of him? And let's just like figure it out. Like just force the ball to them. I do not care. Force the ball to them. Force it as much as possible. So yeah, we're in then there are now rumors that Barkley's going to get traded to the Bills, which I really hope doesn't happen. I mean, I just want this guy to be a lifelong Giant. And I know it's hypocritical for me to say that because I think I was the one who was advocating for the team to trade OBJ because essentially he was our biggest and best chip in a trade. And I saw the holes on the roster and I said to myself, maybe he gets us the returns that can get us over the hump, and we ended up getting 3 players out of him, 2 or 3 players. And yeah, none of them paid off. None of them. I mean, I guess you could say O'Shane Ximines, maybe, which that in and of itself has been one hell of a journey. Him and Julian Love. I have never seen 2 players get fucking buried on a roster, like not see the field at all. And all of a sudden they're on the field every snap and they're making positive plays and contributions. And it's just like, what the hell? That's how, I mean, to tie this all into the workplace theme and your career and your profession, that's insane. And I know that like people probably look at me on paper and they say, bad attitude, malcontent, doesn't get along, doesn't know how to collaborate, isn't flexible, blah, 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 rigid thinker. And it's like, or, you get to know me like, and you work with me instead of against me. But, you just have to be, it really is about being in the right location, and being the right fit. And so far, O'Shane Ximines has proved a lot of people wrong. I mean, he's not doing what we all hoped he would do, where, he's putting up the kind of numbers that he was putting up his rookie year. But it's weird to me to see the C on Julian Love's jersey. I think he deserves it, but it's like, whoa, what a freaking 180. Him and O'Shane, Ox, as Wink calls him. So, thoughts about the Bears. I mean, I guess they don't blitz a lot, but then I saw that they do get the highest pressure rate with 4 rushers, no blitzes, which is going to be it's going to cause issues for our offensive front. Hopefully we can still run the ball with Saquon. It's insane that we have yet to have more passing yards than running yards. It's crazy. Run the damn ball, 2022. I get it, but we still need to somehow make the running game work for us in the passing game. And so far it really hasn't worked. Although a lot of people giving kudos to Mike Kafka, and I have to agree. I think if we still have Jason Garrett as our OC, that game on Monday night against the Cowboys is a blowout. Like, I don't think we score any points in that game. So the ability to move the ball in as much as we did with what we had is like incredible testament to Mike Kafka. So hopefully he continues to make the most of the situation. I just wish that, why can't he do it for Golladay and Slayton? Like, if you're able to manufacture yards with like Tanner Hudson and Daniel Bellinger and David Sills, you should be able to do it with Darius Slayton and Kenny Golladay. How is that not possible? How is it not possible to do it with Kadarius Toney? And maybe that's the case. It's like, maybe that's what Garrett knew. He's like, listen, I can scheme for these guys all day long, but our offensive line is not going to give our quarterback enough time to make the throw and complete the pass. So woof. So I think Fields might give us some troubles, scrambling around and making plays with his legs. I'm not too scared of that offense. I'm not incredibly scared of the defense. I think it's going to be another close game where it comes down to the wire. I think we can come out with a win, and to be 3-1 after all this, everything we're going through, not too shabby. I don't know. I still can't. And it's a problem. I still can't fully accept the rebuild. And I think a lot of fans can't accept it. They can't just fully embrace the rebuild. It's just like, and it's because there are things working in our favor, and we see too many flashes of potential and too many flashes of competitiveness. I think if we were like, I'd be more apt to accept the rebuild if it's like blown out week 1, blown out week 2, blown out week 3. We're 0-3. We're getting blown out. Okay, I get it. Like, let's just see what we've got for the future. future, or let's already start speculating about the future. But people wanting us to trade Saquon for picks, I just don't think it's the same as with OBJ. And like, I loved the amount of talent that OBJ had and his ability to make plays. I mean, he was our offense for a few seasons. Like, he just was our total offense before we got Saquon. But it's hard to like overlook what distractions he caused in the freaking clubhouse, in the media. You know, it's one thing to be going off, putting up career numbers and winning games. And I think that's what happened in 2016, where it was like, we're gonna look past a lot of this stuff because we're winning games and we're getting the playoffs. But then you get to the playoffs and you just don't show up. You know, that's tough. That's a tough look. So, you know, you gotta back up. You gotta back up your actions, your words with actions. And I don't think that OBJ did that a lot of the time. I think that he disappeared in some spots. And but you know, looking back, should we have traded him? I mean, I guess yeah, we shouldn't have. But what are you gonna do? I really want Saquon. I just feel like Saquon feels different. You know, I think OBJ. You know, you could say that he threw Eli under the bus. He was dissatisfied with how he was being used, the play calling, the coaching staff, and he was taking it out, you know, in the wrong places. Whereas Saquon, it's like you could see him. You could say that he had every right to do what OBJ did and start doing what OBJ did, and he hasn't. And he's doing phenomenal this year. I mean, he's like, I don't know if he can win comeback player of the year. I put a future on him to be comeback player of the year, even though I don't know if he's eligible. But that touchdown run he had, 36-yard touchdown run, I don't know that a lot of people make that run. I know for damn sure that Ezekiel Elliott doesn't make that run. And there are people wondering why Tony Pollard isn't starting over Ezekiel Elliott. So, you know, Saquon is not like other running backs. I mean, he's just not. And you can say like, oh, well, we're not winning with him, but we're losing worse without him. Does that make sense? Like, you're going to trade Saquon for picks. So then you need, I guess you don't need that halfway. You just need a halfway decent running back. And then you can use the picks on offensive line and a receiver. I don't know. I don't think we're at that point yet. I just would love to see him be a lifelong Giant because it just feels right. You know, you hear him talk, you see how he plays on the field, you see how motivated he is, how intense he is, emotional, and it's not taking away from the team. It's not like, oh, look at me. It's like, you know, I don't need to run hurdles in the end zone after I score a freaking touchdown. Every time OBJ scored, it was like, oh, please don't get a flag. Please don't get a flag. Please don't get a flag. Because you know our defense won't be able to make up for it. So it just feels different. So I really hope they don't trade Saquon. I really hope, you know, I was hesitant to draft him because, you know, you have all this talk about, you know, running backs are increasingly diminishing returns on running backs. They have short lifespans, shelf lives, life shelves, whatever the fuck it's called. And, you know, you don't want to, you know, it's something that probably, you know, you can get better value of another position, but he's just like a once in a lifetime running back. Yeah, I mean, he's better than Rodney Hampton, Joe Morris, Otis Anderson. I mean, these are guys that are just inducted into the Ring of Honor. He's better than them. He's better than Tiki Barber by a lot, in my opinion. And Tiki Barber was in the running for MVP of the league and leading rusher in franchise history. Probably should go into the Hall of Fame. And Saquon is just flat out better. He just is. Maybe not from a blocking perspective, and maybe that's where he needs to work on his game. And you know, that's something he can work on and get better at. But in terms of running the ball, and I know he had a drop on Monday night, but catching the ball out of the backfield, so good, dude. People forgot in 2020 and 2021 because we didn't see a lot of him, and we saw him, and we did see him. He was banged up. He wasn't 100%. Now you see him at 100%. He is so heads and tails far above other running backs. It's sickening. But okay, yeah, let's give him up for draft picks that might not pan out. It's like, it's tough to. I know we had to do better in the draft, and the draft has been a major point of contention for us, a sore spot where we just haven't been able to find talent that's sustainable or long term. Like, there's just too much turnover. You know, when's the last time we had a draft pick that made it past the 4 or 5 year mark? And it looks like we're trending that way for Daniel Jones. Man. But with that said, a W cures all. W is a cure-all. Winning is a cure-all. And if they can come out, and I don't care if it's the ugliest win, like a 6-3, 3-2 ball game. All that matters is the fucking win. So let's get it. Let's get it. Force the ball to Golladay. Right here now, Darius Slayton and Kenny Golladay both need to each have double-digit targets. Boom. I said it. Why not? Why not? And if they drop the ball, they drop the ball. I don't know that any other receivers are really catching the ball right now. So it's like, I don't think other receivers are getting open, and I don't think Jones really has the time for people to get open, but like force them the football as much as possible. And like, we're obviously not going to trade for anyone at the trade deadline, but you at least, if you are going to have an inkling of trying to trade Slayton or Golladay or any of the players, well, you need to showcase them and highlight them to get something in return. Because right now you're not getting gawk. You're not even getting a bucket of balls on a washing machine. Okay. So I think the defense comes back with a vengeance because I don't think the Bears offense is that talented. I think it's going to be very similar to the Panthers game. I think we're going to have opportunities and we're probably going to miss them, but our defense will keep us in the game and the offense will have one or two good drives and that'll be enough to pull out the win. So book it. All right. So that's the Giants.